Hello, good morning or good afternoon. So I had some thoughts I wanted to share somehow and an impulse to make a podcast again. So here we are. And what's really present for me, and somehow it's so beautiful because I was inspired by a woman, an artist that shared her appreciation about the book The Woman Who Runs with the Wolf. And in French, it's Les femmes qui courent avec les loups. And I literally just started the book 2 days ago in the middle of the night. I started the book in the evening and I couldn't sleep, and I just started to read around 1:30 and just stopped at 3. I decided to not put myself the rule that it's night and I should sleep, because if I can't, then I can't. And it was so interesting because this book was a gift to me that I received maybe 3 years ago, 4 years ago, I'm not sure. My concept of time and years are really bad. And I remember I had it, and I was at the time going through a lot of things, and I was going through a bit of an awakening in some ways, and I had a lot of different information coming. And I remember when I received this, with that person, we spoke about it, it was present. I also remember that book also was mentioned with someone else, and I remember I was not thinking at all of reading it. I did not have the capacity, I think, and I had a lot of inner processes going on anyway. I didn't need any more information. And somehow, sometimes I was also rejecting it. Like, somehow I felt like, why do I need to read this book? Am I not being connected to myself enough? I don't want to read this book. And I think somehow the beautiful thing, and the book in the beginning, of course, like, and I've heard about it, it's connecting to your inner savage woman, la femme sauvage, your intuition, and maybe unconsciously there's some things that are blocking some creativity in you, and it's beautiful because right now it's happening. But I think at the time I was realizing other things, and the beautiful thing is I did not, even if it was there, my rational self knew the book was there, my body was not ready to read it. And this is something I'm quite proud of. I think I'm really deeply connected to my intuition, but I think my ego kind of is also really protective, I get really protective of my space, but I guess I can always open more and more to my sensitivity and discover more and more. And that's something I'm learning right now, because I'm quite grounded into that space, but still always something to learn. Or I don't like this because somehow I was also a bit angry, because I was like, am I not enough? Do I always need to know something more? And then I just said, well, no, there's a deep, deep truth in you that you know it's there. It's this beautiful space. And you can just open yourself up to different information, things that resonates with you. And then you can see, oh, this resonates. It's like the there's like beautiful things that are created in this world that resonates with me, and I don't need to make all the work on my own. I can resonate and be like, oh my God, this gives a name, a color, a form to a feeling that I have. And someone created that. It is beautiful, and I can just be with it. And somehow I have a tendency to always want to do things a bit in my own terms, in my own way, and rejecting a lot of things around me. And it comes, I'm aware I'm sharing this, and it probably comes from a lot of different reasons, but I think as well it's because it's so important for me to hear my inner voice, because deep, 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 deep down my intuition is there, and I know, and I can embrace that, what's good for me and what's not good for me. And right now I'm in a journey that I do this, and it's exactly what the book is opening yourself up to. Wow, I'm realizing that on these podcasts I go in really different direction. It's like all the little doors are opening through. I have like a space where I want to go, and then there's so many doors that I see, and then I speak about them. Interesting. I don't know. It's kind of beautiful. It's all the processes that comes at the same time, but maybe it's a bit overwhelming to hear and not interesting. I have no idea. To be seen again. And yeah, 4 years after, I see this woman that speaks about women with the wolf. And again, first of all, I was a bit like, what do I need to read this? And the word need was really sad. And I just sat with myself and I said, you don't need to read the book. You're enough as you are. But you can, with curiosity, read the book. And like I think I mentioned in the other podcast that I did, the book is not holding my truth. I have my own truth in my body and my heart and my being. And it can just resonate. And if I'm just connected to that, I can just read it and be curious about it. And I think this is also a word that I really love, being curious. Because it's in the curiosity you make mistake, you try, you test and try things. And then you grow from these things. So with curiosity, and you see what resonates, and if you sit down with some words and then you see, wow, yes, or oh, that just not now, I'm not ready, or it doesn't really resonate with me. I think to rebuild this trust with my intuition and my own self with curiosity as well. So yeah, I really lose myself in my own speaking. But then 4 years after, then I like I said, I started the book, and then with that new way of thinking, I started the book, and then it blew my mind away, because sorry, that's a bit unpleasant for the year, I'm sorry. Yeah, instead of giving, because I think there's a lot of beautiful spaces that, because I had a beautiful inner process for the last year, and there's beautiful spaces that I'm aware of, and the book just reminds me of them. I can go deeper in some spaces that maybe I thought I was done, or now I'm ready as well to go just a step deeper. And I think this is always going to be, we always can go deeper and deeper into our sensitivity, and it's beautiful. And what I found so beautiful, and then for that I want to kind of say a beautiful thank you to my body, is I didn't push myself to read the book 4 years ago. And if I'm honest, I started the book a couple of times in different ways, and I just couldn't read it. Sorry. I couldn't read it. I didn't understand it. It made no sense to me at that time. And instead of like pushing me and forcing myself, I just like, no, this is not what I want to read at the moment. So that was following my intuition. I was not ready. And then the beautiful thing is like, I picked up the book, and the book was like, had a little piece of paper in it. So I stopped. It was really in the beginning, and I just decided to restart the book. And then I read it in such a different way, and I understood different things in so many different ways that I don't remember I read. So that just points out to how really not ready I was at the time. And that is something that's part of, maybe I'm really just in the beginning of the book, and there's something about a deep trust about your own timing and your process, and to trust your body, which is a bit what she kind of says, to regain the trust in your own intuition, but also the trust in your own rhythm. And I would say in your body, because I am someone really, really sensitive to my body. I've learned that about myself, and that's beautiful. It's also learning our own sensitivity, like how do we feel things and go through life with our sensitivity, and a deep trust into my timing. And then life will help me around me to, like, somehow this woman that I just encountered again on social media, I knew she was existing, but for some reason she kind of came a bit more present in my life. Her songs really resonated with me now. And I knew she was, but before it was a bit, I was not really, I was like, oh, it's interesting what she does. But for some reason right now, I was really took by her music. And then she just, for some reason, I went to see her story, and she shared this book. And so weirdly right now it's just happening. And sometimes I want to trust, and I ask, and I also say thank you to life, to the universal energy, to like have brought me this book in my life at the moment, or just encourage me to read it. But yeah, and also the trust that, sometimes, the book came to me, and it was not time, so I trusted in that moment that I was not ready to read it, but I had it with me, and when the time would arrive, I would be able to start the book. And that happens to me a lot of the time, I realize. And it's something that maybe it's just the way I work, and then it's kind of beautiful because now the universe, we all are on the same page. There's always like a first encounter where it's like a seed that's like put in my body and my brain, but it's not yet the time, and there's no rush at all. And then when the time comes, then this seed is kind of flowering, and there's just a space for that present to grow. And somehow life, in my way, kind of does this. But I think, I wonder, it's a question. Maybe for other people it's different. I don't know. Maybe for some people it's like, no, when they receive something, they're ready to receive it. But somehow, I'm sure there was a preparation, unconscious maybe. But yeah. Actually, I'm just thinking, it's a beautiful, like, I'm just amazed by how this situation with the book happened. Like, received it 4 years ago, And now finally I'm ready to read it, and I trusted my timing and I didn't push it, and now I can really absorb the information in the book. And yeah. But this also brings another question. Again, it's curious, it's just my own approach to life, because sometimes I think it's chaotic. No, if you want to stay human and breathe through situation, sometimes you'll receive something and you're like, oh, I should do it because sometimes I do this. I should do it because it probably is kind of like happening right now because I'm ready, but like, I think it's just, it's now that I speak about it, it just happens in the moment. There's no I should or I shouldn't, but it just creates a space where you can have a dialogue with it, and you kind of be like, yeah, okay, sure. Or maybe today I'm just really tired and I just don't have the energy to do that. But I'm gonna keep that situation. I'm really thankful that kind of opened the door. So I guess it just, and again, like this book, I did try to read it a couple of times before. It just didn't work out and I didn't push it. So I'm realizing even that thought is a bit chaotic, trying to understand not understandable things in life. I think it's like I'm to trust, to have a deep trust that life is movable, is breathable. You receive things, you come back to it years later. That is the beauty. And what I'm realizing is, well, I shared that with someone where, yeah, I took 4 years to finish a book as well at one point. I took 4 years to finish a book. And I didn't push myself. I remember I do that with books. I read them and then suddenly when I want to continue, it's like my brain wants to know, and my body is like, enough. You need to sit with what you just read. And sometimes I start and I don't know what to read, and I come to a book and then I'm like, no, not this one. And then I remember a book in particular. It was really really beautiful because my aunt passed away more than a couple of years now. I don't remember the time exactly, but it was such a beautiful gesture. My parents sent in me a book called it was Winnie the Pooh. Winnie the Pooh. Mon Dieu, don't remember the name, and now I don't really want to get up. It's about Winnie the Pooh, but Winnie the Pooh, it was about being in the moment. It was really beautiful. There was so much beautiful wisdom in the book, and I think Winnie the Pooh, it's for children, but had a lot of wisdom in it, and it was about being in the present. And I was in a moment, I was doing research. Yes, I was doing research about meditation, about different things, being in the moment. And I spoke about my research a bit to my parents, and then they sent me this book, and it was the book of my aunt. I had her book in my hand. I'm really emotional thinking about it, how beautiful that is. It's like she was there giving me the book, and my parents were really beautiful that they sent it to me, that book. And it took me 4 years to finish that book, and it's really small. It's really small, and I remember I read it, and I feel like I could restart the book and read it somehow again. And actually, I think it would be a good time, now that I say it, to read it again. I'm sure I would read it and read different things and see differently. But I remember I in the beginning, what happens, I'm really fascinated by the book, and I read, and suddenly I stop. It's a bit like this. And suddenly I just stop. And I started to try again, and no, and then just suddenly I remember there's a moment where I tore my ligament in my foot, and I was in bed for like 3 weeks. I couldn't do so much. I was alone as well in my room. And I said, I think it's time I finished the book. The beginning, it was hard because it was hard to re-enter the space that the book was in, because it's like it's been years I'm encountering like the space, the energy, the taste of the book, everything, the environment of the book. I remember I was like, oh, it was hard. But then I went to it, and I finished it. And then there's another book. I think it took me 6 years. I said, I think it's time that I finish that book too. And I did as well. I think, yeah. I think sometimes, wow, I realize I always have like a counter thoughts to my own thoughts. It's just interesting. Trying not to think so much and just be in the moment, but it's just because I'm thinking of different books, and sometimes I think, yeah, sometimes it's time, but when it's been a long time, I feel like I needed a bit of a push and a bit of concentration to be like, okay, I'm ready, but I know it's not necessarily going to be easy to understand in the beginning because it's been so long. That's a bit it's funny, my heart is a bit contracting when this happened, because it's kind of a reality that's a bit more harsh, and I don't know, like, because I just wonder, if not, you will never finish. It's just always going to float. And I think it's also beautiful. Maybe it's also me. Endings of books, endings of things. It's also hard, you know. There's something beautiful to know that it's just floating forever. It's interesting. I feel like there's just insanely a lot of different doors in my own space. I don't know if it's nice or not. I think it's okay if I don't take things too seriously, and I bring them, and I kind of float, or not float, and I just be with them. This is just being human somehow. But some spaces are certain in me. Some spaces, they are need to be no question. I know that this is to be heard. Yeah. It's like I provoked myself a bit somehow with these thoughts. It's like to trust that you know, and to trust to be curious, to trust to be open, to have a dialogue, to be open to different perspective, but to always come back to yourself and sit with yourself. How do you resonate with this? And just can breathe. It's hard. I can imagine as well. This is also really provoking for the ego as well, because you lose a perspective of who you are, and it's kind of this image. And then if you break that, of course, then I think you come to something much deeper, much more breathable in yourself. It's kind of an energy, an essence, a space that's breathable. And yeah. After these, sometimes I forget what I said, which is probably a bit normal. I think I will try to do that more. I'm just really in the presence of my feelings, of how my body reacts, of my thoughts, of the space around me. And it's really nice. I'm just breathing life, and it's really beautiful. Mm-hmm. So this was a bit longer than the first one, which I think it's gonna be like this, sometimes longer, sometimes not. Yeah. And then we'll see. We will see. We shall see how this goes. But thank you for being with me. And for now, have a beautiful space in front of you. And until